a fraction of an inch, either team could have been in a commanding position in that game. I think the Panthers had the opportunity first, and then it looked like the Bruins were going to put it away and go up 4-2. And the puck clanks. I mean, it was like that. I don't know. You weren't a highlight degenerate, but one of the worst sounds in highlight was when you heard that clank of a guy that you needed to score a point, and the pelota would hit the metal up there on the lower part of the wall, and you thought, you complete piece of crap. How could you do that? How could you shank one? I mean, even cursing out Joey Cornford. Imagine that. Nice Jewish boy playing highlight against all of these guys, these animals from
that grew up playing it their whole life. He's from like Brooklyn.
Yeah, the Basque region of Spain. This guy is like a Jewish kid. He grew up on a knish and a bagel and cream cheese. And then if he misplayed one, you were like, Jesus, Joey, what the hell is wrong with you? You're like that with Bobrovsky, though. I mean, he could be the second coming of Terry Sawchuk, and you wouldn't care. Not every goal is the goalie's fault.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very special good morning, everybody. Great to be with you here on the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubitz. And we have a lot of ground to cover here on the program today. And we're going to have some special guests with us later on. We're going to talk to one of our good friends from the radio business who's always doing good charitable work, Doc Reno. Big Dolphin fan, huge Dolphin fan. We used to do these pregame shows with Doc. We always tease him about it. Louis would show up, maybe he would have, some notes written down. No, you had no notes.
Never.
You were only looking forward to the catering.
Yeah, it was food. That's all.
Right. Me, I had my New York Post. That was about it. That was all I was bringing to the table. And Doc Reno would literally have as many documents as you'll see wheeled out when they finally tried Donald Trump on that business about taking the top secret documents to his home. And the feds, they always wheel it out. They'll have like a dolly full of like boxes of, documents. And you're thinking, really? You have all that evidence against me? What is that? He would come with just reams of notes and all kinds of interesting facts and ideas and statistics. And, then we would reduce it down to nothing and just turn the show into a regular circus like we always do, making fun of Joe Philbin and talking about the fact at that time that the Dolphins were more likely destined to lose than anything else. But anyway, he's going to join us later on. Big local sports fan, a huge international disc jockey on the radio, although they don't call themselves disc jockeys anymore.
Not really.
What's the term for it?
I don't know. He's a host. I don't know. He does a show.
Musical savant? I mean, no, he does, he does a whole big thing. So he's going to join us later on. We always love talking to Doc. And Scoop Skolnick from 5 Reasons Sports Network, one of our affiliations also here on the show, as we try to put as much material on there as we can because they have a really nice fan base, mostly just absolutely eccentric New York Heat fans. I mean, Miami Heat fans, not New York Knicks fans.
Miami Heat fans.
I got them confused. They may as well be the New York Heat.
Very Heat.
Although Knick fans do not let go of their Knick fandom. There are many people here that still are just diehard Knick fans. There's no question that seems to be an affiliation that fans really have a tough time letting go of. Yankee fans, I guess the same thing. The Mets, do we believe in them at this point? Steve Cohn's money so far hasn't bought them much of a better position than you're getting out of the lowly and underfinanced Miami Marlins franchise, who got shellacked yesterday behind Sandy Alcantara. Again, although Alcantara, 3 runs, 5 innings?
Fine. He wasn't horrible like he's been. I mean, he also, again, isn't getting any run support. 0, in fact. He got 0 run support, which is psychotic.
That game was pretty far off the radar, though, last night.
Last night. Are you kidding me?
I don't even know if it was up on any screens anywhere. I did spend some time at a bar that has multiple television sets. And when I walked in there, believe it or not, even though both games were in action, neither of them was on any of the TVs. That's not good management there, Dave B, over at Stingers. But nobody cared. It really surprised me. I didn't see the kind of fever. I was talking to a friend of mine who happened to stop by. And remember, was it by the second round of the playoffs, going back into the 90s, where, bars had to set up a movie screen and put their own new arrangement of seating in, and they were charging like $20 a head to come in and watch the game.
I think it was the second round was when it became.
You were too young to remember that, right?
No, I remember well. I love that run. That I watched. I got in the first round versus the Bruins. It got bigger in the second round. I think in the second round, because remember they were supposed to lose to every single team.
Yes,
so
underdogs in every series.
People weren't counting, and again that was a Flyers team that had loaded up, that was trying to go take out the Penguins, their in-state rivals, and it was supposed to be a formality they were going to beat the Panthers. So I don't think I think people got into it in that series. I think the Panthers jumped out to a lead in that series, and then that's when people were like, "Oh shit, this may be something." And then it went fast. Like once people got into it, it became a freaking, especially with the rat nonsense, it caught fire. And I think it was the second round.
Remember that? You had to stop at the dollar store on your way down to the arena there to pick up like 30 rats.
The rats was a whole thing. Everywhere you went, you saw freaking rats. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good time. I mean, we haven't, and like I say, we haven't had that spirit here since 1969. Right, the way the song goes. Anyway, let's start with the Miami Heat, though. The Panthers did a great job last night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. They win Game 1 of the series. I thought they were in pretty much complete command of the game. It did get deadlocked at 2 apiece, but a new and a very favorable trend for the Florida Panthers going back to Game 6 of their series against the Bruins, that all of a sudden, when it looks like they're maybe walking a little bit of a razor's edge, and they're in a situation that could compromise their chances of winning. In this case, getting tied up at 2-2. Naturally, the usual darts were being thrown at Bobrovsky. Can you believe this guy? He sucks. I'd rather have a beached whale in the pipes there. But he distinguished himself the rest of the way. And the Panthers now have a knack of answering right back to adversity. And so before you had a chance to even go get a sandwich, after the 2-2 tie, and as deflated as you might have been that this 2-0 lead had evaporated, they were right back on top 3-2, and you were thinking they were going to win this game. And they did. 4-2 the final there. They go up 1-0 on Toronto. I'm becoming convinced that if Eric Spoelstra was the coach of the Washington Generals, they might have been a 500 ball club. What do you think,
Yes.
Larry? Is that possible? Meadowlark Lemon's legacy would be diminished by exponential levels. You would have never heard of, Curly Neal or any of the great Globetrotter players, because Spoelstra would have found a way to win with any level of scrub, which I'm not sure that you could characterize last night's game without Jimmy Butler as that, but it's about as close to it as you could possibly get, right? You're thinking this team does not win without Jimmy Butler, and they didn't, but it wasn't like they were embarrassed or didn't have their opportunity to do so.
I mean,
it took a lot. I mean, it took Jalen Brunson getting really hot there from 3-point range at the end of the game and making just about everything he threw at the basket. And took 25 points from Julius Randle, who returned to the lineup. And that was just for the Knicks to be able to prevail by 6 points in the ball game, which that 6-point lead wasn't that large until free throws were being taken in garbage time. Yeah.
I mean, even because they looked like they were going to just end it. It got up to 5-6. And then the Heat, or it got up to like 8, and I'm like, okay, the game's over. The Heat made it 2, got a steal. The Knicks nicked and threw it out of bounds on the inbound, which I didn't even know you could do that. And then the Heat made a 3, so it went back down to 3. And
Randall stepped over the line. Remember that?
Which I've never seen an NBA.
Yeah, he stepped over the line, the boundary line, and so that's a turnover. You're not allowed to do that without inbounding the ball, and so they gave the ball back, and immediately the Heat canned a 3. They went from 8 points down with about 30 seconds to go to down 3 with a reasonable amount of time left, like 22, 23 seconds left to go in the game. So and there was a possibility. I mean, did you see Thibodeau? You talk about a guy that looks like a schlep, Tom Thibodeau. Does he not epitomize the definition? Like if you were going to look up the word schlep in the dictionary, this guy looks like a schlep. Coaches were always very distinguished on the sidelines. I don't know. Do you like the casual clothing? Or did you like the distinction that coaches wore like very fancy suits, made popular, of course, by the great Pat Riley himself, and then perpetuated by Eric Spoelstra, who was always very well dressed. I don't know if he was quite Riley-esque, but he had the grease in the hair and the whole thing, and always looked very dapper. The guy's in shape. He's a good-looking kid.
Yeah,
and you had a easy way time distinguishing the coach. You would have thought that some homeless guy got in through the face identification of James Dolan and ended up on the sideline there with Tom Thibodeau. Oh, not exactly the most loquacious. He seems to be the coach that reacts the way you would expect a coach to during those mandatory 2-question interviews that they're obligated to do for TV. And it's happening in all sports. The hockey guys handle it great, right? Guys are fighting right in front of the bench. The entire team's in a scrum. And then the attractive female reporter comes over and says, "Okay, the game is going in the first period." And they very graciously answer and give like a fairly intelligent answer, with a lot of detail in it. Whereas the basketball coaches, they just want to get out of it for the most part. Spoelstra will stand there and answer the questions. Thibodeau was very Popovich-esque, although without the rudeness, the obvious disdain for the concept. But he didn't have anything to say when they asked him a couple of questions. And then you're looking and you're going, it really is true. We were talking about this yesterday on the show where does he not look like the guy? I don't know if you've ever seen this where, and I'm always, fascinated by street vendors, but you'll see that there's like a central location where they all get their carts from. And, I guess their supplies. And if you see that, kind of shaping up early in the morning or when they're all coming back late at night, Thibodeau looks like one of those guys that was roasting chestnuts somewhere by Rockefeller Center at Christmas time. He just, he's all bundled up there, and he's kind of hunched over, and he's got the 3-day growth, and he just looks like, as we've been saying, also the before guy on some kind of pharmaceutical commercial, where they're showing you what it's like to have what is that CPD, where the elephant steps on your chest?
Yeah, COPD, the emphysema.
Whatever it is, man. COPD, is that what it is? COPD. What is that thing where you can't breathe?
Emphysema. That's just a scientific term for emphysema.
Okay.
COPD.
He does look like one of those guys, though, doesn't he? Where they're showing him and he's afraid to eat something because he's got Crohn's disease. He may have it. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to make fun of the guy if he's got a legitimate reason to look that sick all the time. But he looks sick, doesn't he, Tom Thibodeau? Not exactly the dashing, swashbuckling type that Eric Spoelstra is. And you would have to think, I mean, generally regarded as a very intelligent X's and O's guy. But he had to be nervous last night. And if you were a Heat fan, I would say, I don't know, are you ever encouraged by a loss? But you're thinking, geez, if Jimmy Butler's in this lineup here, they
I would tell them. I mean,
destroy them in New York Knicks.
The Knicks should be relieved. The Knicks should look. You got one game, which now it's just funny the way that and I guess I was like after that game, like going off, and my buddy, the Knicks fan, he's like, dude, like Knicks fans know that game was ridiculous. That they got to win, but you have home court. Like you didn't have Butler, you didn't have Hero, and it was a game into the end. Like, and you now have home court. Like, what do you get? Who are you yelling at, yourself? Like, Knicks fans know what you're saying, but they didn't 2 games ago. That's my problem. Knicks fans came into this series so cocky, and I didn't know what they were cocky about. I was like, what do you guys like? The Cavs aren't the Bucks, and you took the same amount of games to beat them. I like, what are you talking about? But it was fine. They were arrogant. Let them be arrogant. The fact that the Heat won game 1 and Butler missed the last 5 minutes because he was on the court literally not doing anything. And
that was like a power play. It really was. It was like 5-on-4.
At all. Hero didn't play. Halfway through the game, Strus was playing well. Strus goes out for like a quarter and a half. Like, and they had their entire team at home, and Scott Foster. That last 7 minutes was magical in a ref showing you how they can infringe a game. Like, I didn't say anything about the refs the whole game. The free throw disparity was a joke, and both teams were shooting a ton of threes. But I was like, whatever. I didn't expect it to be even. And then at the end of the game, I mean, I've never seen them call for a review. The reviews show the thing they're looking for. And then it was like a Major League Baseball replay. Like baseball, they never overturn it. They always go to the replay, but they're so...
Guy's out by like 6 feet.
So proud.
He's been tagged several times. He doesn't even make it to home plate, and they still call him safe. Yeah.
It was fucking weird. They call for the review. Then the review shows, the foul. Brunson's holding the ball. He's not even in a shooting position. The foul happens. Literally, they slow motion it on air, and Jimmy Jackson's like, yeah, literally, there's no way the shot got off. I guess that's a side out of bounds. And then Foster himself is like, the foul, the 3. It was like, what? I don't even think the explanation had words in it. And then they went on after that to Gabe Vincent. A shot literally hits the rim clearly. Vincent catches it, puts it back.
Oh yeah, that was awful that we
Watch
ignored
that one.
Yeah.
Julian Randle throws down Kyle Lowry, and they call a foul on the Heat. And then Josh Hart pushes blatantly in front of the ref, pushes a Heat player into a Knick. And not only they call nothing, they call a Knick foul. It was a masterclass on, fuck, the Knicks are going to lose this game without Butler, be down 2-0. We can't have the Knicks be down 2-0. Foster, let's do it. The Heat are literally, I think, 0-17 or some shit. Oh, I'm sorry. They're 0-7, 0-13 against Scott Foster. Like, it was a match. Like, you can say whatever you want.
He's a modern day Dick Pavetta.
It was bad. It was really bad. And even with that, it was a 1-point game with 2 minutes left. Brunson played well. Randall played well. Barrett played well. That was, if I'm a Knick fan, I'm happy it's 1-1, but I would shut my fucking mouth. All the arrogance and the conscience.
They were overly euphoric, I would say.
It was,
the celebration at the Garden, considering the circumstances, was maybe a little bit overplayed.
It was just weird.
Because Knick fans were going crazy. I would have been scared to death after that game that they're going to lose the series. You have till Saturday, Jimmy Butler possibly coming back. I don't know how close he was to actually playing in the game.
He's playing.
Many people thought discretion would be the better part of valor, and just keep him on the bench. Take your chances with the guys that you have. You already got the split, and get a fully healthy or as close to healthy Jimmy Butler as you can. Saturday when they resume the series in sometime around Passover of next year.
Exactly.
Right, you'll be eating matzah by the time they conclude this series. And thinking, hey, this is good, man. Made it through another year in one piece. But very favorable conditions for the Miami Heat in the ball game. The Heat got decent contributions from a couple of players. Caleb Martin looked great there for a spell. He missed a couple of shots at the end of the game, which could have been crucial. But for the most part, he was carrying the load. Gabe Vincent, also good. Strus, you mentioned Matt Strus. Bam Adebayo remains a mystery. You know what? It reminds me of Bam Adebayo a little bit of when the Heat were going through Ronnie Cycli for their offense. It just seems like the flow is interrupted because Bam Adebayo, appears to be very indecisive as to whether or not he should be aggressive, passive-aggressive, or just flat-out useless as an offensive link to whatever's going on at that end of the court. You would think that he would take it strong to the basket, especially with Julius Randle in there, who had been out.
We lost Defo. That's so fun. As I'm ranting on chat the refs were horrendous. I'm sorry. Look, I do it a lot. I talk about the refs. I actually wasn't last night. I was leaving it alone. The Heat were jacking up a lot of bad threes. So were the Knicks. The Knicks were making them. The Heat actually made a lot of them. But to me, if you're not going to be aggressive on the road when a team's down 0-1, you can't expect calls. So I didn't say anything about the refs. Watch the last 7 minutes. Watch it. Watch the last 7 minutes and tell me it went both ways. The last 7 minutes, they called nothing on the Knicks. Nothing on the Knicks. And the last 7 minutes, literally, the stuff, not only they were calling stuff in the Heat, it was just bullshit. Like, it was flat out bullshit. Like, you review a three to see if the foul happened before. The review shows the foul clear. The foul not only happened before the shot left, the foul happened before he was in shooting motion. Like, why review? Why? Then don't review it. Why? They reviewed it. The thing they reviewed it for was clear. Gabe Vincent clearly hits the ball, clearly hits the rim, clearly. Reset shot clock. Vincent catches it, put back. They call shot clock violation, clearly. Okay? Josh Hart clearly, like, these aren't like, oh, well, you're on the road. No, Julian, come on, bud. Julian, come on. When the refs see things clear as day in a playoff game that they've already, the free throws were double Knicks' way. And the Knicks shot just as many threes as the Heat. I gave them the benefit of the doubt because he was shooting a lot of threes. So when you're shooting a lot of threes, you're not going to get foul calls. But I'm sorry. They were both shot a lot of threes. The Knicks shot double the free throws. Double.
Now, are we together, Lubie, or what? What's the deal here? You're doing a show. I'm doing a show.
On. Your internet sucks.
This is not good. Is this a byproduct of the switch, you think?
Probably.
Yeah. All right, but you have me now, right?
Yes, you now are there. You were there. So I started ranting because I didn't know where the fuck you were.
Well, I mean, you're not happy with the referee in that game.
I'm not being challenged about the refs. Just admit it. Like, just say, look, we got calls. Like, thank God, because we were going to lose that game. Like, don't do the, well, it wasn't both ways. anyone who watched that game, the last 7 minutes, if you're a Knicks fan, you're just saying, "Oh, okay, good for us." Like just take it, accept it. Don't challenge it. Like it was clearly one sided. Like it just was. Like and I wasn't even bitching about the refs. I actually didn't bitch until I went on Twitter and watched all like reporters, media people going, "Jesus, that's a bad call." Like listing the bad call. When you can list the bad calls in a 5-minute span, I mean, the refs were clear. I mean, it was very clear the idea behind the last 7 minutes. It shouldn't have been a game. There was no Butler. They were grateful for that. And then the Heat were winning the entire game. Like they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
you would have
shit.
thought that the Knicks would have found a way to, just push the Heat into a deep hole and, never let the finger, their thumb off the jugular there, and they would have put them away and maybe won this game. A 20-point lead somewhere in the third quarter, and maybe they only win by 12, but that only happened because they put their scrubs in the ball game late. They were life and death to win this ball game. So you're gonna have to be very encouraged if you were a fan of the Miami Heat. I do believe that. Is it possible that Spoelstra could take the Washington Generals and have gone 500 against the Globetrotters across 5,000 games? What do you think? Is that possible? That's what we have to think about. Game 3 not till Saturday. So you have some time for Jimmy Butler to get behind. If he's in, also have to thinking that first splits the 2 games here, and is very likely to win them both. We'll see. So it'll be 3-1 Knicks at the end of 4 games, Louis. The Knicks will find their
Exactly.
stride and
We'll see.
start playing, basketball, looking like the Golden State Warriors from a few years ago, with the ball moving in perfect symmetry. And you're asking yourself, how can any team be this slick? But we'll see. Not an overwhelming task for them. Great. I really enjoyed it. The Panthers all of a sudden have captured Miami as a team that could be Cinderella City here. An 8th seed coming in. They knock off the Boston Bruins. They're down 3-1. Tremendous resiliency in that series. Terrific game in Game 6. Come back, and it would have been very easy to, just say, hey, okay, we fought these guys to the bitter end here, and, if we lose in 7, no disgrace. Instead, they win that game in overtime, dramatic fashion, and then come out in Toronto a couple of days later and look razor sharp, did they not? The Maple Leafs looked like they were just dragging, like they were going through slush, not skating on ice. And they did get back into the game at 2-2. You started to get a little nervous, thinking, well, maybe this, is a little bit of an illusion. What happened here with the Florida Panthers? They were, after all, a team that was life and death to get into the postseason. And then, sure enough, I mean, they come right back after the 2-2 tie. I think I turned my head for a second to watch a little bit of the Heat game on the other screen.
Yeah.
And sure enough, 3-2 already.
Yep. Like every time. Did you go?
And they've been doing that, right? You there, Lubie? What do you got?
That's fun, boy. I'm trying to time you.
Oh, okay. I thought I went out of the tree here. It's like dog racing. OP. What were you going to say? What were you going to say, Lubie?
No, I'm just trying to. I actually wasn't saying nothing. I'm just trying to read you. You're like freezing, not freezing, slow motioning. I'm like in an acid trip.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is a very favorable development, like I said. Anyway, so we're up 1-0 on Toronto. We're even with the Knicks, and our Marlins are still above 500, even though Alcantara is looking like he's on some shaky ground. Gives up 3 runs in 5 innings last night, threw 100 pitches through 5, walked a bunch of guys, hit a couple of guys, and had himself in compromising situations throughout. And now since that shutout that he had, what was that? April 4th, they went the distance, and he has since that time accumulated an earned run average of 7.4 in going 1-3 across 4 starts, but. Yeah, not necessarily something that bodes well for the Marlins. You would have to think that Alcantara would have to be Cy Young himself to help this team with their anemic batting order to have any kind of success this season. But still sitting there at 16-14, and just as good as I don't know what the Mets did last night, if they did anything, but they were tied with them 16-13 a couple of days ago. And for all of Steve Cohen's money, the Marlins are doing it with nothing, literally.
Mets didn't play. Mets are 16-13 still.
Okay, so they dropped behind the Mets by a half game in the standings, but no disgrace the way they've started out the season. Hey, fun night though. I mean, were you in? Oh, you were at a bar, right? You were
Was
doing your thing, your trivia,
It was
and you say there was a nice assemblage of people there that were interested in these games.
it wasn't packed, but there was again, it's a lounge, so it's never, even when it's packed, it's not packed. But there were a few people there, and everyone was watching the games. We were into it. It was pretty cool. I haven't done that in a while because I go into my lair when my teams play because I'm a lunatic. But being that there were fellow Heat and Panther fans, they all were pretty loud, so I felt right at home. It was nice to have, like, we don't have, first of all, because of how our fans are, but also we haven't been good in years. Like, all of our sports have been down for so long that it was nice to have, like, not only people rooting, but you feel confidence in your teams. Like, the Heat didn't have Butler Hero, and the refs were fine until the last 7 minutes. I don't know what happened, but the last 7 minutes it was abomination. But until then, the refs weren't an issue. So it was interesting to see that the Heat be down so much. The Knicks have everyone. The Knicks be hitting their shots. The Knicks be getting contributions. Barrett, and he'd be in it, and he'd be leading. So that was interesting. And they already have a game in hand. So, like, you're watching Jimmy Butler. He looked pissed. He looked like that was not his decision. Like, he felt he could go. He wanted to play. He was walking around New York City taking video to show that he could play. He was doing everything he could that game, and it took till literally an hour before they announced him out. Like, it was literally not his decision at all. Like, Spoelstra's like, dude, we're up one. Like,
He was wearing a shirt like
he
he was
wanted
ready to
to play.
play. What happened to that rule that you had to wear like a collared shirt to be on the bench there? Remember that was put in place there because everybody was looking like they came off the
It was a
cover of a
combination
rap
of
album.
Iverson and then the Malice at the Palace.
A lot of people thought it was kind of racially motivated, this whole thing by
Dress
David
code.
Stern dress code, but they've obviously loosened
Yeah,
the reins on
relaxed.
that.
They relaxed.
Not that these guys look terrible or anything. I mean, they're entitled to dress any way they want. I don't know that I really cared about that so much. It seemed like it was straight up to not look like a gangster when you were sitting there. And yet this was the kind of dynamic or demographic that they were trying to cultivate in the NBA, and that was making a big portion of their fan base. What was the appeal of these kind of players, the Allen Iversons and some of the other guys that used to sit there, and you thought, well, wow, that guy really is part of this team. How did this guy get on the end of the bench there? But Stern had a big issue with that. I don't know if Adam Silver just came in and wanted to ingratiate himself to the players there and said, "Yeah, you know what? Just
Well, I mean,
show
they,
up
they
any way that
don't
you
they
want."
they
It's not like
after
they
the game.
look bad
They're
or
not. They
anything. I
pulled
mean,
back from the suits, but they all are wearing stuff that, if you knew how expensive those outfits were, uh, like, that's why they're allowing it. It's not like they're wearing baggy jeans. They're wearing tight fit clothes. So, like, even though it's not going to a wedding kind of clothes, it's they're still nice in some regard. So that's why they allow, I guess, the clothing. But he just looked like he wanted to be out there, not because he was frustrated he was hurt, but because he was like, I knew I could play. But his guys picked him up, and he seemed to be really happy about that. Like, even at the end of the game, he wasn't upset at all. He was waving and smiling at the Knicks fans like, enjoy this, guys, because this was not a good performance from you all. The fact that my C players were in this game until the end, even with the refs on your side, is not a good look for you. And I get 3 full days of rest. I can't wait to see you in Miami. Like, Jimmy Butler looked ready, like, during and after the game. And then you had the Panthers, who are against this. Look, and I don't even care about refs in hockey, but this dude was telling me yesterday, he was like, it's going to be bad. I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't good with Boston. He's like, no, you don't get it. Like, whatever happened in Boston is nothing. So the fact that in the first 4 minutes there were 2 penalties and nothing illegal happened, like, one was a hard hit, which is hockey, especially playoff hockey, and the other one was a Panther player having a stick out but didn't touch anyone, and they called it tripping. I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be interesting. After that, it sort of like leveled off penalty wise, and the Panthers controlled that game. It was so weird to see them look like that, which, after what we saw versus Boston, was really impressive. So to see both of those teams at the same time really being in control in some sense was a really fun night. Like, we don't get that down here often.
Well, what clicked in with the Panthers? I mean, they were listless when going down 3-1 to the Boston Bruins. those two games were as big a stinkeroos as we've seen the Panthers play in situations where you were actually paying attention because the games had some level of significance. In this case, a first round playoff game against an historically good team. What clicked in? I don't know. I mean, is it Kachuk and his fighting spirit? This Montour guy, all of a sudden, really? I mean, he's like Brad Park out there firing the puck. Unbelievable. And scoring, just incessantly. And in the Carter Verhaeghe had a real good season. He was kind of doing nothing the first portion of the Bruins series, and then came on at the end, and then was big last night once again. And the chemistry with Kachuk has been remarkable. This guy has been a catalyst in virtually everything that has happened, including finding a goaltender. You talk about a spirited leader as opposed to the very quiet and reserved Jonathan Huberdeau, who I had the occasion to interview many times, even before his English was very well polished. Huberdeau at least was amenable to doing interviews and things like that on the radio. And while they were less than scintillating, because obviously, there was a little bit of a language barrier there. At least you applauded the fact that the guy was willing to do this and was very gracious about accommodating interview requests, whereas it was hard to get a hold of other players. It was always Huberdeau that was being offered up as a guy that would be a guest. But he didn't embody the kind of spirit that Kachuk does in terms of, just saying, hey, I mean, you want this guy to, let's go. He's like Belushi leading the charge there to get out there at the Faber College Faber Day Parade and saying, okay, let's go. Well, let's wreak some havoc here. And, doesn't mind instigating stuff either with the other team, Matt Kachuk. So a different approach. As we were saying on, Defo and 5 on the 5 Reasons Sports Network, the names aren't the guys that you thought were going to carry this team to any kind of level of success, right? There was going to be Barkov and Ekblad, and maybe to a lesser extent Huberdeau. Huberdeau's gone. The guy that replaced him turns out to be one of the most dynamic players that you could ever have acquired. And as we've been speculating, and I'm hard-pressed to come up with anything, a trade of that magnitude where the South Florida team got the better of it so much.
In the sense that they went from being a team that was in the first round and a fun young upstart team to the contender. And if Stan Van Gundy tells Keon Doolan to get the fuck out of the way and give Shaq the ball down the stretch, they beat the Pistons and go to the finals in their first year together. So I guess Shaq, I thought about that this morning. Shaq's the first one where like it changed their culture from a good team to a legit, and then they won the title the next year. So.
Right, and I remember people actually speculating at the time that, oh my God, what they give up? Like Caron Butler and Lamar Odom?
Butler, Odom, and Eddie Jones, or I think a draft pick of some kind.
If it was Eddie Jones, they were dying to get rid of him. That was an unfortunate mistake that the Heat made in overrating Eddie Jones. Who did they get rid of to bring in Eddie Jones to the lineup? There was a popular guard on the team, and they brought in Eddie Jones. And I remember thinking, I'm not sure that this is going to work out to the level that the Heat fans are expecting. And unfortunately, while Eddie Jones was a very good guy, a man of character and all of that, a family man, and I had a good family here in South Florida, I would never want to insult him again like I did at that game when I was ripping Eddie Jones with every turnover. But, I mean, they were 10 minutes into the game. He had 5 turnovers. Come on, what do you want to do? When I'm there in a game, I used to. I don't know that I would do this anymore. I want to be like the same obnoxious fan that everybody else is.
Yeah,
right?
Yep.
Start screaming and yelling. I don't want to be in a press box sitting there on my hands going, did you see that last play? Would you have given him an assist on that?
I hate the press box. It's so the opposite of what a game's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So weird. I get it.
Bunch of morbid souls that are just looking for free food.
So weird. I get it. It's supposed to be objective, but I don't understand why it has to be quiet. It's just eerily quiet in there.
I guess in fairness to the guys that are covering the other team, right? I mean,
I'm not telling you.
You don't have a bunch of Dolphin press, yelling and screaming and getting in the face of the Chiefs writers, schlepping in from Kansas City.
Yeah, you don't want fist fight.
Finally got a day of sun. You can pick them out right away, man, because they're red as a beet. They all went out there and got like 8 hours of sun their only day in South Florida because they'll never see the sun again in Kansas City.
Exactly.
Not even in the summer. I guess it gets out there in the summer. Real muggy, too. Muggy.
We just don't have the humidity. But, I understand you don't want them fist fighting and that's what will happen. But the fact that there's not anything, it's just quiet. It's like you can hear a pin drop. It's like you're at a library. And I'm like, I never got that.
No, it's impossible to suppress that kind of
talk and
enthusiasm.
watch a
Yeah.
game. Like you don't have to
I
like
mean, at least you could marvel at a play or something. I mean,
so quiet.
whether it was your team or the other team, and you see something great, isn't that part of the reason you go to sporting events to see something
Yes.
spectacular happen? Some athletic accomplishment where you're thinking, "My God, how on earth did this guy do that?" Anyway, Bobrovsky, your man, outduels Samsonov last night. No, I mean, would you say that was a fair statement? He outdueled the Toronto goaltender and made some nice saves. It wasn't like he was without pressure. And then late in the game, when they got on that power play with 30 seconds to go in the empty net, that's 6-on-4. They put a lot of pressure on Bobrovsky, and he held up there like a champ, my friend.
No,
So could it be that things are just coming together at the right time?
I'm not going that far, but he played well. I can't lie. I mean, the goals that he did give up were really on the defense, like them not getting rid of pucks because the defense is really bad. But he's playing much better. I mean, he's getting better every game. Like I have to give him credit. It scares me to say that because I can't stand him, but he's getting better every game. And he kept them in that when they got it to 2-2. It was like, oh shit, he didn't allow that next goal, which is what he usually does. He usually allows that next goal, and then you're like, he didn't. It stayed at 2, and they came back, and before the end of the period, got a goal, and it was like, good. As long as we can leave this period with a lead, we're in good shape. And they were. It was amazing.
No, great for that. I mean, I thought they dominated the play. In fact, I would say that even going into the series, I was less concerned about Toronto than I would have been about the Bruins. The Bruins were a better team during the regular season, obviously, than anybody. But I didn't think Toronto was all that. I mean, it wasn't like they were scary or anything. They beat the Lightning 4-2. But if you watch that series, the Lightning, had to be kicking themselves that they didn't win it themselves in 6 games. They had Toronto by the jugular a couple of times and, gave it up. They spit the bid. And it looked like there was a chance that was going to happen last night. Imagine coming from 2 down in the final minute. But with that 4-minute penalty, you were thinking, well, what? Does that now carry over into overtime? If it gets there, almost impossible to get squeezed 2 goals out of that situation. But you know what? With about 30 seconds to go, they looked like they had a goal, a surefire score. Messed it up somehow. And had they gotten it to 4-3 with 30 seconds left, and sitting there with a 6-on-4, you're thinking this could be one of the ugliest losses in the history of South Florida sports. But it's not happening. That's part of the Cinderella story, Lubie.
Yeah.
It's just not happening. So good night all the way around. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did. I had a good time. Although I was watching, this was kind of weird. One of the satellite feeds on the TV in the sports bar. We went to Stingers last night, right?
Yes.
So we're watching, both games. They got it nice by the time, we had them switch from CNN or whatever was up there, Bloomberg Network. And you're walking in thinking, my God, this is in the middle of 2 playoff games. And they're not up on any screen. How is this possible? Is there that little interest in it? Now, it wasn't like it was crowded last night, but, you do have people from out of town that, stay at the hotels across the street there, but you do have a nice neighborhood crowd. You would have thought that would have been a huge attraction last night, no, Libby, because of the degree of difficulty in keeping track of both games. But this was weird. I hadn't experienced this. It's been a long time, if I have, where the bottom of the screen was cut off because of the way the feed was coming in.
Mm.
So you could only see the Miami Heat score. You ever try to watch a basketball game where you can only see one team score?
Yes.
So we're actually on our phones, which we're a little behind. And Mustang's like, no, it's 41-40. I said, no, Mustang, you can see right there that the Heat already have 47.
So you don't.
But we had no idea what the Nick tally was.
Oh my God.
We couldn't figure out what to do on that one. That was a rough one. So you're trying to keep track in your head, but then you're watching another game at the same time. And let's face it, hockey is not the easiest thing to follow. Where's the puck? I don't know.
It was. Yeah, I'm not I do the switch. I'm not one to set up 2 TVs. I know people do that. That stresses me out. I pick one thing and then I'll track the other thing. To keep an eye on both games last night was hectic. It was like.
Oh, it wasn't easy. You know what? I've become pretty adept, and you're going to miss something.
Yeah.
But with all of this playoff activity that's been going on, I mean, even after the game, you still had the Lakers and Golden State, which is
Yeah.
definitive marquee matchup,
Yep. Yep.
and a game of and a series of great intrigue to me because of I don't know, is my reputation on the line here for being somebody that can spot something? When the Lakers were 2-10, I told you not to sleep on the Lakers. They were 2-10, Lubie, and I said, "Watch out! I see a spark here." And here they are. I mean, would it be any surprise if they knocked off Golden State based on what you saw last night?
No,
I don't know if you watched any of that
they're
game.
up in this series and they won at Golden State. And Golden State, the one thing they have is they're great at home. If they're now losing at home, then they're in trouble. And Anthony Davis and LeBron look like the bubble. It's the most healthy they've been together since they took out another banged up Heat team. Yes, there is mismatches both ways. And to me, I just thought the Warriors, I didn't think they'd kill the Lakers. I thought it would be a series. I thought it'd be a great series. I just thought the Warriors would have too much. Being down 0-1 is not good for the Lakers. I mean, for the Warriors, because the Lakers should have lost that game. And the fact that they were able to pull that out of the rear, they're in the driver's seat. And LeBron, and that's the other thing. They have all these other young guys that haven't had a lot of experience. They're just building experience as it goes along, and they don't have to do it because LeBron and AD at 30 and 20. What the hell?
Skip Bayless should have to crawl through a trough, that's been occupied by a very large swine, and crawl to the feet of LeBron James and apologize to him for making all this money based on the fact that he wants to be on a lunatic fringe and try to convince people that LeBron James is overrated. That guy, I mean, to play the way that he does after 20 years in the league, think about that. This would be like UD coming out there and looking like he was in his prime. I mean, LeBron James has been amazing. Anthony Davis, he did hit the deck about a half a dozen times in this game. I think I'm going to, I might accomplish that over of 6 and a hook, where he's on the ground 6.5 times before he actually misses significant time or misses a game. But, the Golden State Warriors don't have an answer for that. They really don't. Kevon Looney is an excellent player, man, a real catalyst for him, and he's great. Draymond Green spends more time complaining to the officials than he does actually making plays now, which he got teed up, at a crucial point in the ball game for arguing about a foul that, look, I mean, they're calling this stuff, right? If they see somebody give it one of those fake soccer moves, right? A semi-flop, and there's always going to be a whistle blown. It's unfortunate.
Yep, every time.
But in this case, I mean, there was physical contact there, and Draymond Green had little to complain about, except to put his team again in a compromising position. For as much of an asset as he's been, at what point does the bad boy become detrimental when he's no longer as effective as he used to be as a player in terms of meaningful statistical contribution? But I mean, the Lakers were in that game all the way. It wasn't like they came from the dead or anything, or you had some flat moment by Golden State. They just went toe to toe with them throughout the ball game and came out on top. Klay Thompson, who ended up with a good total of points in the game, I think he ended up with 20-something, 25. But he was awful in the first half. I mean, he was like 1 for 10 and was missing everything. So, that helped the Lakers' cause quite a bit. But they're getting contributions from other guys besides just Davis. I mean, this Austin Reeves is an unbelievable story. Does he not look like the modern-day Kurt Rambis out there? Where you're thinking, how is this guy in the lineup? I mean, what is he doing out there with the Showtime Lakers? Some big white stiff. And yet, he always makes some kind of key play. And that's what's happening right now with Austin Reeves, who has been a dynamic player so far for the Lakers in the postseason. Do you agree with me now, Lubie, that it's time to at least recognize the concept of not sleeping on the Los Angeles Lakers?
I've said it for a while. I just never trusted Anthony Davis to stay healthy. It wasn't that they didn't have the talent or whatever. Once they shipped out Westbrook and got actual guys that can shoot and can complement LeBron instead of a guy that's literally in the way of LeBron, it opened everything up. Even with that, Davis is always going to get hurt. Like his track record, literally, that bubble year when they got 4 months off in the middle of the season is the only time he's been healthy in playoff time. Like literally, like even that year the Pelicans were pretty good with Cousins, he eventually got hurt. He always gets hurt. Like that's literally his MO at this point. So to me, it's like, okay, if he's hurt, whatever LeBron does, we've seen LeBron isn't carrying teams anymore without another star. That's why I've always held on the back of my head, like eventually he's going to Paul George, he's going to Kawhi, and he's going to cost his team the series. As of now, if you're a Laker fan, you're knocking on anything you can. He is out there, and he's playing like prime Anthony Davis. Like he's playing like a guy that.
No, he looks great. Yeah, he really does. Yeah, very unstoppable. I had a lot of. He had a bunch of blocks in the game that were also critical. All right, we have to run. Doc Reno is going to join us here in just a few minutes. A good friend of the program, of course, and very, very. I mean, you talk about having a large presence in the media all around the country. Doc Reno's on like 30 radio stations or something, maybe even more at this point.
He's coast to coast.
I think he's the last man standing. Doc Reno, the last guy that actually goes to work at a radio studio and is syndicated around the country as all these other guys. Well, we're either going automated or we're bringing in Doc Reno. That's the way it goes. If you're in Davenport, Iowa, trying to work for would those stations have a K or a W at the start?
I have no idea.
Anyway, Doc's going to join us here. He's got a golf tournament coming up, and it's kind of a concept, going to be the second edition of it. So it figures to be even more spectacular than last year. It's happening on Friday. And you guys that are fans of members of the media, you will love this because he's got a lot of, and that's one thing I always liked about the South Florida media. It was a very friendly bunch and, much more supportive of each other than you might expect in a business where, obviously there's going to be professional jealousy or whatever, or, I never, rooted against anybody that was in the talent side of things because look at the shit that we have to put up with to be able to do this stuff, right? Constantly vulnerable. Your life could change in a second, the whole line about going in another direction. So I always appreciated it that there was somewhat of a bond here among a lot of the people that do the same things that we do. And many of them are going to be out there with Doc Reno. And are we, token appearance, Lubie?
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'd love for you to join. What's cool is.
But where is it at? Jacaranda?
No, it's not Jacaranda. But it actually worked for us for where we're going to be. It's
okay.
Pembroke Lakes.
Oh, Pembroke Lakes. I used to play golf there. Yeah. All right. We're going to bring on the doc in just a second, and we'll return down in a moment. Now that. It's 7:48.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Ric Flair, the world's heavyweight champion. I don't have to say a lot more about the way I feel about Ric Flair. No respect, no honor. There is no honor among thieves. He put hard times on Dusty Rhodes and his family. That is.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show here, The Defo Show on South Florida Live. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, and this is a pleasure for us. It was always an issue, and for some reason, I was always looked upon in somewhat derisive terms because many program directors thought that I was negligent in terms of doing show prep. Because I would show up with my New York Post and a cup of coffee and, about 3 minutes to airtime, turn on the mic and do what we do. And I always told Lubie this, that it's overrated, show prep, because in sports, you're preparing all the time, right? You're watching all of these games. You're making whatever observations that you can, trying to remember, whatever mental notes you made from the night before. But you're constantly doing it, and having read about it and studied it and looked at it my entire life, I considered a lifetime of show prep went into every program that we did. But this gentleman probably would be seen in a much more favorable light by anybody that was in the consulting and or programming end of the business, because he is always prepared, and he showed us up. He made us look like fools when we were doing those Dolphin pregame shows, and he would come in with like just a voluminous notes on the entire league's history. We love this man for that. He really kind of awakened us to think that, maybe we could do, a little more work. Doc Reno joins us here on the program. Doctor, how are you, my friend?
Good morning. It's good to hear you.
Good morning, great one.
Good to have you on, Doc. What are you up to right now? I mean, you have to be euphoric because you are the ultimate South Florida sports fan, even though you have, ties to teams all over the country, because as we often pointed out, you are Mr. Radio, and how obscure without you having a story about some station that you worked at there.
Albuquerque. My
Yeah.
Albuquerque. Sacramento. I love thee.
Hey, you know what? I do have family in Albuquerque. A retired Air Force cousin. And yes, I lived in Buffalo, New York for 5.5 years, so I know Toronto very well. I just want to say, as far as the show prep stuff is concerned, you guys do sports radio, and now you're doing sports and talk radio.
Yes.
Where I'm playing Led Zeppelin in the afternoon, so I had to make sure I could keep up with you guys.
It would always be nice. I thought if I could have just, when I was stuck for something to say, or get. To the point where you're thinking, geez, whatever you're saying, Defo, it's awfully monotonous. I would imagine the audience is ready to just about, slit their wrists. If I could have just popped on Stairway to Heaven for about 17 minutes.
Well, we don't call them bathroom songs for nothing. So, yeah.
We didn't have anything like that. We would have to play like a clip from, Ozzie Guillen, all right, let's play that Ozzie Guillen rant again, and then we'll follow that up with Tommy Lasorda talking about Dave Kingman. And you'll be able to go take a dump. It was great.
Speaking of Tommy Lasorda, real quick, last Dodgers game in Vero Beach, the last game ever, I believe it was on St. Patrick's Day back in the day, and I was lucky enough to meet him in person in Vero Beach at the stadium.
Oh, wow.
So it was the last Dodgers game ever in Florida.
I think I've told my Tommy Lasorda introductory story many, many times, actually. And this was a different time in sports. Lasorda had just been named manager of the L.A. Dodgers. I was working for this real rinky-dink newspaper about 60 miles east of L.A., but we did cover the pro sports, which was a good aspect of the job because it gave you that experience in addition to posting pictures of little Johnny Jones who had just caught a sunfish, and you would have to put that picture on the front page of the sports section. But Tommy Lasorda does this whole big press conference as he's introduced, and then he was doing some one-on-one interviews with various people, and there was some pretty distinguished members of the LA media out there. They were as famous as movie stars. A lot of them, like Stu Nahan, had been in like Rocky movies and things like that.
Yep.
And Brent Musburger was a big sportscaster out there at the time. So he does all of the interviews with these guys, and I had a little like yellow tape recorder. It looked like a Mr. Microphone. So I'm standing there with my little yellow tape recorder after the press conference is over, and Lasorda is being ushered out of the press conference with an entourage of people. I mean, he was an extremely popular guy even before he took over the reins as Dodger manager. And I meekly approach him and say, Tommy, would you have time to answer a couple of questions? I was pretty green. I didn't realize that once you get the bums rush, that's it. They're going to the elevator and it's over. Yeah. And he actually stopped. And, all of the guys, they kept going. And Lasorda says, something along the lines. It was like that Mean Joe Green commercial with the Coca-Cola. Says, what do you need, kid? And he talked to me for like another 10 minutes, which was great, while everybody else was screaming, come on, Tommy, we got to go. We got the luncheon with the president. What are you talking about? So he couldn't have been any more gracious. He really was a good guy like that.
Yeah, he was a very nice man. Only met him once. But that's a great story.
True story, no doubt. All right, what's going on with the golf tournament? The second annual, which I would imagine, I don't know what's scarier, the first inaugural or the second annual, Doc Reno? What's tougher to put together?
Well, I mean, I always say the first one's the worst one, but we had such a good time last year. We have, we have a tall order to climb, basically. With this one was it being on Cinco de Mayo. Last year was kind of a rock and roll theme, and this year it's Cinco de Mayo theme. We're gonna have a mariachi band. We have piñatas with cash and gift cards and gift certificates for 4 lucky golfers. We're doing a Friday afternoon as opposed to a Saturday morning. We're doing a 5-hour broadcast on Big 105.9 with the lovely.
Oh, yeah? Wow. Nice.
So she will be a hit with all the male golfers. And, we have a big announcement that we're going to do on the air today, or on Friday, rather, for a future event that both of you know very well, and I won't say the name. And, our goal was 100 golfers. Right now we're at 104.
Oh, nice.
I was told by the course yesterday that we could have up to 120. So if any of your fine listeners would like to play in a foursome, the website is myfamilymattersfoundation.org. It is my children's cancer foundation that I have with Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital. And that's who we're raising money for. And last year we walked away with a $25,000 profit. And hopefully, if we can get in the ballpark again around there, we can help some cancer families who unfortunately have a sick child, and we help them with cancer costs that are not covered by insurance. As we all know, your insurance company's not going to buy you groceries.
Yep.
They're not going to pay your rent, but that's what our foundation does.
You're lucky if they even attempt to cover your medical costs, at 10% on the dollar that you're laying out. And you had a bout with cancer, Doc Reno, which was part of the inspiration for this particular charitable effort. And tell you, I guess, it sounds good, all of this stuff. Go ahead, Doc. I'm stepping all over you here.
No, I was just going to say, I've got some good news on that. Back on the 28th of February, my oncologist told me that I was no longer in remission. I'm cancer-free.
That's amazing.
Nice. And, I remember around that time where you got the diagnosis, and you were, coming in and out of the radio station periodically. And, it's a startling wake-up call. Actually, I haven't had that experience yet, but, I don't look forward to that day. And I would think it's, a real hardship. So, this money, as usual with any of your efforts, Doc Reno, going to some tremendous good. What kind of characters are we going to see playing out there? Because I would imagine, I know a lot of our people really enjoy all of the people that were in and TV.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a chance to meet, all the way back.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have a lot of we're going to have a lot of radio and TV people there. I'm always a little leery saying who's going to be there and who's not, because I found out last year, just to tell you a quick story, I had 3 sponsors, 2 that donated $1,500 and 1 that donated $2,000, and all 3 didn't show up. But
wow.
To their credit,
the money did.
They called me and said, "Hey, can't make it today, but I want you to keep the donation."
Oh, wow.
Very nice.
So it was like somebody
my kind
gave
of people
me
right there.
Yeah, for the kids. So I didn't have to feed them or get them drunk, and and I got to keep $5,000 for the foundation. But I have heard, I know that pretty much everybody from Big 105.9 Radio, a lot of iHeart guys, on air and off air, a lot of past retired radio people, Tom Caminetti, it's all Italian.
Yeah.
Steve Stansel, Bill Murphy, Eric Brandon, they're all playing this year. I've heard everybody from Lawrence Taylor to Ron McGill is going to show up.
Oh yeah, wow.
So I guess we'll see who shows up and who doesn't. On Friday afternoon, we're going to be playing at Pembroke Lakes. Right, you know what's right in front of Pembroke Pembroke Lakes is our good friend Jennifer at JT Sports Bar and Grill.
Nice. We love JT's. Yeah.
Okay.
Who back in the day when we used to do the Dolphins pregame at Rick Case Honda would always come and feed us every Sunday.
Yep.
And so that's where the golf course is. And we also this year, because we did have some rock stars there last year, this year we decided we're going to sell $100 wristbands to people that don't play golf but might want to come to the dinner/happy hour. And that's $100 donation to My Family Matters Foundation.
Nice.
And they could come and hang and eat and drink with us after the golfers get off the course on Friday.
Very nice. Mariachi band playing while you're in the middle of your backswing. That's just perfect. Murphy, I think, in golf. I know Tommy Caminiti. He probably
He's a
shoots
golf
mid-80s.
teacher, right? He's a golf teacher.
Eric Brandon is always out there, toiling around the golf courses, of Miami Lakes, hitting balls into into the lake himself to get ready for what I would imagine will be the kind of action he'll be in. Is Pembroke Lakes golf course off Pembroke Road? I know I've played there when it first opened up, and I would imagine that the foliage has grown significantly since then to add to the degree of difficulty.
Yeah, compared to back in the day. It's on Taft Street. And it's
Taft,
right off,
okay.
It's off Flamingo. So
So out west there on Taft off of Flamingo.
yeah, you just go east on Taft, and it's on the south side of the street.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful course. And kudos to them as well. They have been super accommodating to us. They're just excited that, they're going to have a bunch of radio guys there. I told them, I said, listen, I got 40 cases of alcohol donated. And I go, you don't understand radio people, man. These people can drink.
20 for the media room, and then the rest you can go ahead and accommodate the other 120 golfers out there. All right, so once again, Doc Reno, it's Friday. What time are they teeing up?
We registration at 11 a.m. Broadcast is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., 5-hour broadcast on Big 105.9 on Friday. Shotgun start at 1. I've got Hadass Levy. She sings the national anthem for the Miami Heat.
No, nice.
So right before the golfers do the shotgun start at 1 o'clock, Hadass is going to do the national anthem for us. And everybody's been super accommodating. I really would like to hit that 120 number. So if any of your fine listeners play golf, we'll take a single player or a double. Last year, 24 hours out, we had 3 foursomes and 3 twosomes sign up.
Nice.
And within the last 24 hours. So I'm hoping that happens again. And I'd really like to max it out. But right now we're at 104. We need 16 more golfers.
All right, let's make it happen.
All right, so if Lubie and I show up about 2 o'clock, because we have a little gig working there with Mike Mayo until 1 out at Gulfstream. So if we split right away after pre-betting the Derby, that puts us there about 2 o'clock. Can we get a golf cart and roll around?
That would be great.
No clubs. I don't want to hit any shots.
You know what? I would love to have you guys do that, and I'll work on that.
Defo and I heckling.
Grab a cart. Last year, Paul Castronello and I did that. We rode around hassling all the golfers.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And it was really.
I want a bullhorn also. I want some kind of bullhorn so we can
commentating.
just have everybody hacking up their game, and we want to be like mayhem is in those commercials.
Both you guys know a lot of these guys. So
sure.
you'll
Oh yeah, no, it'd be fun to get.
Yeah, I'm down.
That'd be great. You remember those? You know those pictures they have of like the Publix deli manager. They're really weird. Those portraits. Do they still have Lubie and my picture up at the radio station, or did they turn those over backwards when we got fired? Because they had like one of those, you would have thought that I was running the meat counter there at Publix if you saw that picture of me.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, no. We have sent food from the fabulous studios.
Yeah.
So we're in brand new digs now. We're right behind the Pembroke Garden Shops on I-75 and Pines Boulevard. And as much as I love the Miramar building, and it's got a lot of history, most of it good, I miss it, and it was a shorter drive to work. Our new digs is pretty much all glass, so it's very unclaustrophobic at the new iHeartRadio studios in Miami.
Nice.
And I absolutely love the new digs. So you guys,
I preferred the claustrophobia.
I'll give you a tour. How about that?
Sure.
And you'll.
I don't think we'd be welcome in there. The last time we were in the building, we were escorted out by security, Doc. I mean,
I got a little pool there. I got a little bit of pool. I'll get you in.
Lubie might be welcome back. I don't know. I was not, for some reason, I was not a favorite of the program. That we had been there for 12 years, and she couldn't get rid of us, which she found a way finally by turning the station off, by just turning the transmitter off, and bringing it down to the low level of distinction they enjoy today. All right, Doc, we'll look forward to it. I'm going to make it out there because I love all of those guys, and it'd be a pleasure to meet some of the people that were big fans of old school radio people here and TV people in South Florida. And does Lubie get on Big 105? Does he get on the broadcast? I don't know if Lubie ever spoke a word on Big 105. Did you, Lubie? Were you ever on there?
Yeah, actually did when we did the simulcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right. You were on Big 105.
Yeah, every week. Yep.
Because we were wondering how come so many people are coming up to us and telling us about the pregame show, and then we realized it's on another station, and the one that we work at, one with an actual audience. Yeah. It was great.
FM.
Yeah, no, and we sounded better on FM. Lubie sounded like he was Bill Withers, man. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Hey,
All right,
those are some of my favorite radio days doing the pregame with you two guys.
And
Man,
that was
you guys
fun.
are amazing friends, amazing broadcasters, and I love and miss you very much.
Well, we love you.
It was a lot of fun. Now we had a great time. We were down at Hooters, way down south, and then
Oh my
Rick
God.
Case, you put that together, and
You
then
remember
it only
the
took
time-
like.
Remember the time we got to the Hialeah Hooters, which is special in its own.
Oh yeah.
And we got there, and it was like 5 minutes before broadcast, and the manager finally shows up, and he's all hungover, and he looks like 3 miles of bad road, and he finally unlocked the damn door for us. And I remember we were all looking around at the engineer guy at the time, and I said, Are we gonna make it on the air here at 3 minutes after 9 a.m.? He goes, I'm gonna get us on the air. And I just remember the three of us standing in the parking lot going, seriously? We're on the radio in 5 freaking minutes, man. Where the hell's the manager?
The history of that show, though, was wrought with technical and circumstantial difficulties because Manny Munoz, when he was doing the show with me, the pregame show when I first started there, he and I had to leave a car dealership in Miami Lakes. And then we were on our cell phones for the first 35 minutes of the show, driving back to the station. And then we had to wait so that we weren't so close to each other, coming up the stairs so we could get into the studio to do the show because the gate was locked at the car dealership. Nobody knew. Of course, the sales staff was right on top of it. No representative there. And so we were locked out of the car dealership that we were supposed to do like the opening day show from, which was not a favorable circumstance. But, we led the league in blown remotes when we were there at WINZ. And, it wasn't always our fault. Let's put it that way. You can verify that, Doc.
Oh.
All right, we'll see you Friday, man. Well, once again, where can people sign up if they want to get involved in this thing? Because you said you had a few spots open.
Yeah, I'll make it easy on everybody. If you just go to big1059.com and you go on the homepage, you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a section that's called events. And the golf flyer is right there. And then you just click on it, and right there's a button that says register now. And right now, obviously, we're still taking sponsors and donations. But if you want to play, you better hurry. And then you can sign up to play, donate, sponsor. We just signed up $1,200 worth of sponsors yesterday.
Nice.
2 different companies signed up. So, you could sponsor, play, donate, all 3 right there, big1059.com, then click on events. Right there's the golf flyer, and you click on that, and you can sign up right there.
Doc, we love you, man. Thanks so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you out there on Friday.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll see you Friday.
Anytime.
We want that golf cart to be very close to the beverage cart also.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
If you're
If
willing
you
to
could
do
just
that,
set us up by the beverage cart, we'll be fine.
I feel like that would be so
Yeah.
fun. I feel
Somewhere
like
on
we could get
15, yeah.
such a kick out of that, having you do your thing.
Oh, I can rip golfers, man. I mean, I know every problem that a golfer can have because I've been victimized by it myself.
That's
Right? Beyond the Women's Tees was a pretty successful golf instructional book. And of course, the classic video, Grounded to the Green. I mean, you know how many copies of that I sold? It was enough. I should be retired just off the royalties on that video alone. Trouble is now it's on what? It's on a cassette tape.
Exactly.
Which nobody has like an ability to play anymore. I mean, it's like the Tom Umansky stuff. What do they do with that? You get that digitally. I mean, where they have the guy throw the ball in 3 motions.
McGriff has the blue hat.
But Shank eponymous. I mean, you know that's really the name of the game there. I mean, it's not the good shots that you hit; it's the bad ones. It's the awful ones that drive you away from it eventually. Which is what happened to me when I started like being unable to hit any ball straight, including putts. Then you know it's time to give it up, right? When your shots are defying aerodynamic law, and you see a ball going straight and it gets to about 150 yards out there and then makes a 90-degree right turn, and then it has a boomerang effect and starts coming back towards you, even though it hasn't hit anything in the process. And it comes back and it lands, 3 feet away from where you're standing, and the guy looks at you and goes, "You lie one, Defo." And you're thinking, because it's in the tee box area, can I tee it up again, or do I have to take a 3-wood out now? I just shanked my driver. I mean, what are the chances I'm going to be able to hit this fucking thing off the ground? Nothing. I hit some good golf shots when I had manufactured a game, and I hit some of the most atrocious shots that have ever been documented in golf history. I mean, just Vandeveld City, man. Right, where you're thinking the only way you can lose this tournament, John, is if you take a driver out right now and hit the ball into a creek. And then what does he do? Remember that when he was wrestling that little munchkin caddy that he had? Some hard-on Irishman that was coming out there to, this elegant Frenchman who had never won squat. And he's going, "No, John." And he's trying to hand him another club, and the guy goes, whoosh. And then you hear that quick secondary sound where it goes, whoosh, crack. You're like, what did it hit? I don't even know. I didn't see it leave the club, right? And you're doing the Arnie Palmer. You're looking out there like, oh, where's that ball? And it's right in the shrub, right by the tee box. And you're thinking, my God, that is disgusting. I can't even reach down there and get it back, even though it came from a brand new sleeve of Titleist that I just paid $8.90 for in the pro shop.
Exactly.
No, it would have been more, right? How much are golf balls now? They have to. I mean, if you're buying golf balls in the pro shop because you're out of balls and
you're fucked.
You're too embarrassed to hit range.
You're fucked. I'm not embarrassed. I hit range all day.
Where do you get the nerve, Shula, to charge this money?
Exactly.
For a sleeve of golf balls, right? And they only have like the highest end, and you're going to lose like the first ball right away. First shot, that thing's going to be dead center lake. All right, that should be fun. All right, Ed Garcia is going to join us here from Texas Roadhouse in just a few minutes on the program. Tony Segreto should be returning shortly. He's had some personal things going on that he had to attend to over the last several weeks.
Yes.
And so, he will be coming back. A lot of people asking about Tony. Where's Tony?
Yeah. He's okay. He'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be coming back soon. So we look forward to that. But we still are very happy to have Texas Roadhouse with us. So want to extol the virtues. And I would imagine Cinco de Mayo will be a big-time celebration.
Yeah, it'll be a party. Yeah, it'll be fun.
It's not a Mexican restaurant, but wow. I mean, they know what to do with a margarita, that's for sure. So sombreros for everybody. And we'll come back in a moment here on the Defo Show. Scoop Skolnick also going to join us very shortly. So stick around for that as well. Back in a moment. Now that.
The time
8:15.
Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
This comes from the great Defo Lama. It's the bets you don't make, the chances you don't take, that can compromise an otherwise incredible life, my friend.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
All right, Doc Reno, a great guy. I'm looking forward to that. Do we really? I mean, to get me to bail right out of a racetrack situation just after a show and not even stick around and go screen to screen for a while to the tune of like minus 250. Well, I mean, the way I've been swinging, I should leave the track right away without ever taking $1 out of my
I
pocket.
was going to say, I thought you'd be ready.
I want to break out, though. I mean, my one chance to get it all back is the Derby.
Get your Derby down and then get out.
Yeah.
I feel like
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bet the Derby maybe even before we start the Mayo show, and then boom, right at 1 o'clock.
Get out.
Right into the car, straight into the parking lot, and off to. I didn't realize it was that far out west. I remember when Pembroke Lakes Golf Course first opened up. I would have to say that it's over 30 years ago that they first opened up, because I was playing a lot of golf at the time, and we played virtually any course that was available. Had the the card there that Charlie DeLuca established there. What was that called? Player's card, where you got a real discount at virtually every golf course that was on the card. It wasn't always like the premium golf courses, but good enough. I mean, among the courses open to the public and weren't private membership, and Pembroke Lakes was one of them. As I recall, though, I mean, they barely had any shrubbery on the course. It was kind of a flat course, and there really wasn't much in the way of foliage to block ear shots or make them more difficult. But I would imagine that there's been considerable growth there. No, Lubie? What do you think?
Yes, I would presume it's been probably for you 30 years.
So. That was it might have been the last time. I mean, I've swung a club since. We had some trip to the Bahamas. That you got stiffed on that Jerry Hester went instead of you because he wanted to play golf.
4 different people that had nothing to do with our show and nothing to do with our station went. At least Hester was our PD at the time.
No, he had a good reason to pull.
And he was a technical guy, but there was like 3 marketing people that we had never seen do anything for us. They whenever we asked anything of them, they gave us a side eye. And magically, when the trip to Sandals, I was at the studio and they were there.
That was not easy. The shows to execute there. Plus, we were obligated to interview like chefs and all kinds of crazy stuff from the resort. But it was well worth it. I mean, it was a good stay. And they we're doing this. The reason they had a sports station there, this was on Exuma Island in the Bahamas.
Yes.
And the reason they had a sports station there was because they had just opened up a newly redesigned Greg Norman golf course.
Yeah.
This was prior to any Live Tour controversy or anything like that. So there was no question about our integrity associating with, some bloodthirsty schmink like Greg Norman. Not that I want to categorize all of the Live players as, worthless, scabs. But I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the move. Why would I be so, faithful to the PGA, which has been a bunch of sanctimonious pricks forever running that organization? And maybe they did get called to the carpet by, certainly awakened by the Live Tour, no? To the fact that, geez, so all of a sudden we found a lot more money we can put in the purses, guys. We can compete with those Saudi bastards for sure. Never mind, Donald Trump owns a couple of the courses. But Yeah, I mean, we go there, and they wanted to promote the fact that they had this golf course, and I think that might have been the last time I swung a club. Because and that had to be what? That's at least 12 years ago, Libby. That was when we first got started at the radio station. 12 years ago when we first doing like morning drive radio there. I
Actually,
guess we've been there for about a year.
Yeah, it was with Goldie because I remember
Yeah.
Goldie, you, and Jerry went because he was supposed to be the on-site whatever, and all you guys were playing golf and drinking the whole time. And I remember being a total disaster, broadcast-wise. But yeah, it was with Goldie.
Oh, the broadcast was a disaster, man. I mean, a complete.
Well, you didn't have a
totally hopeless
producer. No one was
disaster.
on site making sure you guys gave a shit. So,
And we were recording a lot of meaningless garbage too, because we were on 6 to 10 in the morning. There was nobody out there at that hour. So I mean, and they wanted to bring on any number of guys shilling for the resort, which was fine. And I guess I don't know. Well, once in a while, can that be interesting, right? I mean, if you're interviewing a chef on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, it's appropriate.
we do it, and it's interesting if you do it a certain way. But if you're doing an infomercial, then it just gets like dronage at some point.
Oh, it was like some of the most boring stuff I ever did, but I was enjoying every minute of it because the room, I have to say this for Sandals, and it wasn't just unique to us. I mean, we were getting treated just like any other person that went there, although we weren't paying, which I guess was a significant difference. But the room, it looked like the hotel room when Nick Cage was in Leaving Las Vegas. So much booze piled up. I mean, there was everything. You just ended up like opening bottles of champagne and taking a sip so they wouldn't go to waste completely, even though you eventually were wasting them, right? And you had like 6 bottles of every type of liquor you can imagine in this room, and a fairly elegant setup. And then there were bars everywhere that were open 24 hours a day. You couldn't help you in the pool. You're drinking like some exotic looking drink there with chocolate syrup in it and all kinds of crazy stuff and coconuts and a bunch of island booze. It was great, but yeah, that was the last time I swung a club, and it was atrocious, Lubie.
I just know whenever we would do the Goldie golf stuff,
Yeah,
people would beg you to at least just do like a ceremonial shot, and you'd be like, no.
well, right now, I mean, if I took a golf shot, I probably would wrench everything because you're just not. I would be like Jacob deGrom trying to throw a pitch in spring training, where something is going to go wrong there because you haven't done this in such a long period of time. You have to work your way up to it, right? I mean, you can't just all of a sudden do one of these weird jerking motions there. I mean, have you swung a club in a while?
Yeah, well, I did a stupid ass Top Golf. So even though that's
okay,
golf,
yeah.
I did swing a club. So
I suppose I could, try a little pitching wedge from about 60 just to see how it goes. But in all likely, it would be, straight out of the video grounded to the green. And, there's no pride in that, right? Even if it lands right next to the hole, even if it goes in, if you hit it on the ground, such ugliness. All right, Ed Garcia has a meeting that he has to attend to, so he's not going to be able to join us from Texas Roadhouse Restaurants, fine sponsors of Old School with Tony Segreto. And Tony will be back with us, and he's fine. Everything is cool. He just had some business that was very pressing, and it's taken all of his attention for the last month or so. So he should be back with us in
a
a
couple
very
weeks.
short order.
In
Yeah.
a couple weeks, yeah. I talked with him this week. He's been just all over the place. You know him. In the next couple weeks, he should be back with us, and Ed hopefully will join us once again next week.
Yeah, because Texas Roadhouse, I mean, a great margarita they make. I was at a Mexican restaurant, which I would have a very favorable review of, but I wasn't a giant fan of their regular margarita. Now, they did feature some, higher-end margaritas. I don't know about the brand of tequila necessarily, but they had some, different flavored margaritas. And but I like an old-fashioned, straight-up margarita. No salt, because, the possibility of passing out from cardiac arrest. But, nonetheless, I don't like it overly sweet. I don't know about you, Libby. What do you think? Margarita, when it tastes like syrup?
I just don't like when they do. I like more of a fresh mix than when they do the mixers that are like pure like
Yeah.
sugar and syrup. Those I'm not the biggest fan of.
Right. There's, the margarita was kind of ordinary, but the food was great. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. And they did have other options as they had different flavored margaritas, which maybe would have been more to my liking. But nonetheless, I mean, that'd be a great place to go. Texas Roadhouse, guzzle down a couple of margaritas and celebrate Cinco de Mayo. And if you're there in the evening and you're watching all of these games on TV, couldn't ask for much more. Even if you're not necessarily consuming tacos, or they must have. Did they do a quesadilla there at Texas Roadhouse?
I don't know. I don't think they do a quesadilla. They do a lot of different stuff that is all really well done. I don't know about a quesadilla.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen a quesadilla. Yeah.
No,
It's
I
part
don't
of the
think so.
appetizer menu. I had one last night though over there at Stingers. Wasn't half bad.
And well, Stingers, it's funny. Stingers is like, it's not a dive bar. It's a solid bar.
Yeah.
And so you think you get decent food, but they have pizza that's really good. I remember
Surprise you. Yeah, they do.
I remember their quesadillas being really like giving you that's my only problem with the quesadillas. Usually there's not a lot of stuff in it. Like
Yeah.
they give you a nice full quesadilla, and it was like, for a bar, this food's actually pretty good. I remember the burger being really solid. Like I remember their
Great
food.
burgers. Yeah, no, the pizza is top notch for a bar. In this area, especially. That's the only thing around. That's why I was shocked that there was nobody there watching this game or either of the games. I mean, you would think that even just some of the locals, because of the degree of difficulty of trying to keep your eye on both games, while flipping back and forth among channels at home, it was very convenient there, right? You had one game right here, one game right here, and you really didn't have to miss much of the action. Although it still was impossible to follow because I did miss that goal that put the Panthers up 3-2.
Oh, the 3-2. Yeah.
Because I was grousing with Boston Al, and they were saying, "Geez, can you believe this, man? They had this game in full command. All of a sudden, it's 2-2, and they're in Toronto." And you're thinking, if ever there was a time where you were just going to wave the white flag and they end up losing by a 3-2 margin or whatever, maybe 4-2 with an empty netter at the end of the game, that this was it, and it went just the opposite way.
Yes.
But the Panthers' ability to get a quick strike back, it's been very impressive, Lubie. Very impressive. All right, we'll come back with more. Scoop Skolnick had to scratch. Wow.
He'll be on with us tomorrow.
Okay, that's great. And also tomorrow, we bring back a very distinguished gentleman to the program. At least that is the plan, as the Polyman will join us.
That is, I love how you add in, that is the plan.
Well, after he said he would do it, I didn't hear back from him. So I had a question for him and it went unanswered. And he's going to give us his Derby handicap.
Nice.
All right, so I'm not sure how I feel about this. I mean, we know that the inside posts are a kiss of death burial.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it extends out to the 3-hole. How far inside? I mean, one is always like, you see the guy is totally depressed. He starts gargling with Dilaudid after they draw the one post. It doesn't matter how distinguished of a trainer, it is. Bob Baffert can have all the juice in the world in the horse that's in the one gate, and it's still going to have a tough time, coming through and running its race. If, you don't immediately sprint out to the front there and try to go all the way in 1.25 miles, which, can be done, but you don't see it done very often. And the one post has always been considered to be absolute disaster, catastrophic, like you may as well scratch. The 2-hole, hasn't had a winner since affirmed in 1978.
Jesus.
So would that influence you in not betting a horse that you had, some suspicion was ready to go in this Derby that was rounding into form at the right time? Brad Cox special here, which still, Mike Mayo said it was 15-1, which I would imagine is probably correct. But in my morning line odds, I still have it at 35-1 here in the New York Post.
There's got to be something in the middle there. I mean, 35-1 and 15-1 are very different.
Yes, I mean, 35-1 is essentially no consideration whatsoever. Like, good luck, my friend.
Exactly.
Why don't you try diving off the Acapulcan cliffs, from the highest level with no experience? Which might be what we're doing by, embracing this horse, verifying. I did see Forte schooling in the panic yesterday. They had a lot of the Derby horses were kind of getting a little dry run through the panic area, get used to the circumstances so they don't get spooked, although there's no way to even slightly imitate what they're going to experience on Kentucky Derby Day as relatively green horses, young 3-year-olds. And you saw the scene there, Lubie, around the panic.
Yeah.
And at Churchill Downs, I mean, these are animals. They're it's not like human beings. Okay, Charlie, here's your big moment. They don't know. I mean, you think Skippy Dog would be able to handle a crowd of 100,000? I don't think so.
No.
Brushed in there. So, I mean, horses may be more lacking in intelligence than dogs, who seem to be very smart to me. They know exactly what's going on, no? Horses not supposed to be the sharpest knives in the drawer in terms of animals. Like a lot of our friends, no. Yeah, I mean, so they try to get used to the circumstances, but there's no way to really get them accustomed to it except, they walk into the paddock, so maybe at least they've had this experience once before. But anyway, Forte walked in there and looked like a movie star, Lubie. I'm beginning to get real trepidations about, I would naturally be using this horse in all of my exotic wagers. I'm not sure that I'm not more inclined to concede the win, although you never want to do this in the Kentucky Derby. You got to concede the win to the favorite. But yeah, I mean, it looked spectacular. All of these horses, for the most part, are going to be good-looking horses. I mean, they're well-bred and well-groomed and well-cared for, and obviously are worth a lot of money. And if they win the Derby, they're worth even, more money. I mean, phenomenal amounts of money as breeding animals. But Forte walked in there and looked like Michael Jordan showing up at your Jewish League in a basketball game at David Posnack, right? And you're thinking, looks pretty impressive compared to the other guys. So. Yeah, it looked great. I don't know if that stands for anything. You never know. You probably have to check it out on race day. But it was kind of like the way he looked when he came on the track in the Fountain of Youth, more so than the Florida Derby, where the horse just was strutting his stuff and almost had the persona of some kind of championship athlete. So we'll see if that holds up. But I still haven't decided. Verifying. Does he get buried? We'll find out tomorrow from the Polyman here on the show if he's going to stick with that pick. All right, we're coming back with more. We'll take you up until 9 o'clock today. And then our Believe podcast. And this is the reason I'm wearing pants when I do this broadcast. Although I don't know that it would be appropriate in the 7-minute allotment that we have with Jeff Toobin to bring up that Zoom call that he was on with all of the people from CNN when he literally started jerking off in the middle of the call. and people caught it. I mean, he's down there and he's not wearing any pants, I guess. I mean, obviously difficult to do that while you were working. We don't bring that up, do we, Louis? Do you want to throw that one in? Hey, Jeff. I mean, what were you thinking?
No. He's going to talk about the right-wing terrorist boom, and I don't know if there's a connection there.
He certainly has recovered from it. I mean, he's still prominently featured there on CNN, so it wasn't enough to do him in. You would think an incident of that level of disgrace, would possibly be a career ender, at least with the current place that you had an affiliation. But he's managed to bounce back from that. Wasn't he the guy that was all over the OJ trial too, Jeff Toobin?
He's been. I didn't even know about the thing you said. I know the name. He's been one of their lead correspondents.
He's always been a political contributor. Yeah,
he was like a host. Like I feel like he hosted stuff. Like I didn't know there was anything negative about him. Of course, you did.
It's such an unusual move. I mean, of all the people that get caught, like some distinguished journalist is jerking off, and he couldn't wait till the call was over. I mean, maybe it was just one of those never-ending boring Zoom meetings where okay, are we all on board on the plan here? And right away, as soon as the guy opened his mouth, whoever it was that was leading this call, that the guy was on acid when he came up with the plan. Who was it? Bob Pittman? I remember when we had to go to that Bob Pittman meeting, the president and CEO of iHeartMedia comes to the local Miami, office there, and that can only mean one thing: massive layoffs are coming. Why else is Pittman in town? He's not in town to play in the Doc Reno charity tournament, is he? So sure enough, I mean, we're listening to all of this babble about how wonderful the company is, and as soon as the guy walked out of the building, 6 guys get fired.
Yes, that's my favorite. They're like, everyone's good. Yes.
What a wonderful time. You know what? This bankruptcy thing, and don't worry about it. You're all going to get paid.
Don't worry, everything's great. And then a massive layoffs the next day.
Would you be tempted? I mean, you're not tempted to jerk off during a Zoom call. I mean, essentially, this is a version of a Zoom call, what we're doing here with the streaming.
I would usually be doing work during one of their stupid-ass calls. I would be paying no attention to what they're doing and doing other work. But I'd be satisfying myself.
A lot of people got in the jackpot during a COVID thing on Zoom calls. Dave Lamont, remember, he got in that little, he's no longer as prominent. I don't know if he's still doing any ESPN
None.
games
He
after
does
that.
nothing.
That Maria Taylor thing, when she took offense at something he said, it was a side comment to his wife that meant
No,
nothing.
he was just saying, "Oh, here she goes again." That's all he's and something to that effect, because she tended to do that in meetings, from what he said, and they were in the over.
I can't watch this woman, even though she's professional at what she does on NBC
I was
now.
never a fan of hers.
I can't watch her without just thinking about what an ugly, wretched human being she was to doing our buddy Dave Lamont over a nothing innocuous comment, which she could have shrugged off. But she's the one that brought it to light that it should be a big deal. Otherwise, nobody would have even noticed it. Now, the masturbation thing as a whole, that's a different story, right? I would never get away with it. That's for sure. There would be immediate dismissal. So Tubin must have had some real pull.
Oh yeah, he was.
No pun intended.
Exactly.
I mean, but he had some real pull there at the network too. How ridiculous!
No.
Yeah. All right, we won't ask about that.
So
He's got.
CNN. It was on a Zoom call for the New Yorker, and he thought the video was off, because a lot of times you'll put the video off, and
Oh yeah, and he forgot to shut off his camera.
Oh my God!
Wow.
Imagine
the people that are on the call and are just watching
New
this.
Yorker.
It's a very sophisticated publication like the New Yorker.
They don't even.
They're watching one of their correspondents jerking off during the Zoom call because he really has no intention of paying attention. I put something up on Facebook the other day because I was thinking about this myself. Like I was trying to re-examine what the hell I was thinking at the time when I did various things. And I thought the most common answer would be as a fill in the blank, how would you answer this question? What the hell was I thinking at the time? What would it apply to? And I thought it would be marriage, right? Where the most common answer on the thread would be getting married. But it turned out to be a wide variety of things, a full spectrum of things that people alluded to, including stuff that I don't know. I mean, you don't even understand some of the comments there, but you click like anyway if it's one of the things on your thread so the guy doesn't feel offended that you liked everybody else's comment but his. No, I mean, how does that work on social media?
I disagree with you. If you say something fucking crazy, liking it can get you in trouble, even though half the time you don't even read what the hell.
That happened to me with a friend of mine, where I don't even remember clicking on like on something, and this woman who had been seeing a celebrity who had a drinking problem, then said, what kind of friend are you that likes that? Because I guess it turned out that it was something derogatory about this guy's problem. And really, it was just one of those things where you're on there just clicking like that, like that, like that. Because I always find it weird that there's not a no like button on Facebook. Yes. Where a guy says, you know what, I've just been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and you hit the like button.
Yeah, the like is
like you're in favor of the guy dying. I mean, what is that? Like doesn't make sense. A lot in the world doesn't make sense anymore, including some of what we were discussing here on this show with the Tubin. He's going to be on our Believe podcast, and we'll see where that goes. The author of Homegrown, Timothy McVeigh, and the Rise of Right-Wing Extremism.
Yes.
Which, if you're watching that thing about Waco on Showtime, they now have Waco: The Aftermath.
The Branch Davidians.
Yes, and it actually centers around this whole movement that what was taking place with Timothy McVeigh, the second part of the series on Waco with David Koresh and the Branch Davidians. And what's the guy's name? Michael Shannon, the actor, who just finished playing the country music star in George and Tammy. And now he's an FBI guy. This guy is universal, right? He's kind of like Barry Pepper. He just looks like the kind of guy that would be involved in a role like that, and does a great job. But anyway, it's very interesting. So there's kind of a parallel illustration going on of what Tubin is writing about right now, going on Showtime, and I think it's very well done. All right, coming back with more in a moment. Now that
the time
it's 8:40.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Hi, guys. If I could squeeze in two. One is just, can you say with certainty that Jimmy Garoppolo will be on the roster on Sunday?
I can't guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday, so I can't guarantee who will be on our roster on Sunday. So that goes for all of us.
From South Florida to the entire world, thank you to the iHeartRadio app. Here is Defo joined by Lubie on The Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz with you on the Defo Show. Later on, we'll be in Dania Beach, 12 o'clock today, if you guys want to come out and meet the great Mike Mayo, food critic extraordinaire, as he chows down at Grandpa's, which I do want to clarify something. I kind of made a comment just jokingly, facetiously about the kasha knish, which it isn't bad, but it's a redheaded stepchild to the potato knish, is it not?
I've never had it.
The kasha knish.
And well, Mayo took it to mean that you don't like kasha at all, which I don't know if you do or you don't. But
I'm okay with it. I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way, necessarily. Like for me, it's a disappointment when you say, "Hey, I would like a potato knish," and they go, "We're out of potato. We only have kasha,"
and that's fine. Yeah,
and it's like, why don't you just punch me in the left eye, man? I mean. That's not an alternative offer. Yet, I mean, okay, so the tray of hors d'oeuvres comes out, some kid's bar mitzvah, and they got it split, and all the potato knishes are gone. There's a kasha on there. Are you grabbing one, and is it fine? Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've ordered them in the past, and, I'm always thinking, geez, I wish I had ordered a potato knish instead. No?
I've never had a kasha knish. I think kasha varnish, because I like kasha by itself. It's almost like
it's good, yeah. You throw some onions in there, or whatever. I mean, it's okay. It's like rice or whatever, any kind of thing, couscous,
it's
any
like
kind of grain.
Like that kind of grain in a knish, it's probably fine, but it's not potato. Like potato is more filling, and especially the way they do it at Grandpa's, it's like homemade. Like
it's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, and I've had their kasha knish there, and it was fine, but. Just what I mean, that's it's a big drop off, is it not?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Maybe they'll have it. Maybe I'll have it today. We'll do an on-air taste test.
There's spinach knishes. I mean, am I going out of my way to go grab a spinach knish? It might be delicious, but no.
Probably would be. But
I want my potato knish, and I want it now. All right, some comments that came up on the chat line, and we always kind of dig this because you guys are great there with the various things that you're saying. Now, I thought this at the time. Why wasn't that a play that would be reviewed? That one where the shot grazed the rim and the Heat got a basket at a key juncture in the ballgame in the fourth quarter when the Knicks had established, a lead that was 4 or 5 points. And this was.
I just saw the replay, and so. Because right after,
but why wouldn't the play have been stopped? To review that if the coach, I don't know. I mean, or whenever the first break in the action was, they go back to it.
Because some plays they just review, like the charge shit, they'll just review. You don't need to use a challenge for. Some plays you need to use a challenge, but my problem is there was
how can you not take a look at that though? I mean, that was a significant basket that was denied to the Miami Heat.
99 Knicks. If that basket counts, it's 99-98 Knicks. So it's a 1 point game, and they're now taking it out of bounds as opposed to a 3 point game I guess they still were taking it out of bounds, but it goes from a 3 to 1 point game. And that's, I mean, at that point in the game, that was a big deal. The Heat were starting to waffle. The Knicks were starting to build steam after Scott Foster was their sixth man. So with that, that 1 point was a big deal because you got it. It looked like an air ball, right? It looked like an air ball, shot clock by.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It hit the rim. Offensive. Now you have a guard, offensive rebounding putback. That's the kind of thing that could be a punch in the stomach to a team building steam, and could be an uplifting thing to a team that was getting beleaguered. So that was a huge.
Why? Just on the scoreboard, it's a huge dynamic there,
3-1 is
making it a 1 point game. Sure.
Yeah, it was. But that my problem was there was 4 or 5 of those calls. So like if you're Spoelstra, you can't challenge. You get one challenge. I mean that was I think what he was realizing was shit. Which one do I challenge?
Can you just throw a red flag out there in the middle of play though? And I guess it had to go out of bounds because they called it a shot clock violation at that point.
Once it goes out because of the violation, that's your time to yell and say I want to challenge. Again,
Okay.
there was 5 calls that were egregious. You can't challenge 5, and they had already shown that they weren't going to overturn things. The 4-point play at the around the 7-minute mark, they chose to review. The review showed the foul happened clearly before the shot, not even clearly before he was even shooting. They ignored that and still went with the wrong call. So to me, if you're Spoelstra, you now know whatever review happens, they're not going to listen to it. So, I mean, it was clear that they weren't going to listen to the reviews at all.
Scott chimes in with, and I forgot what this applies to in terms of the conversation on the show, but what don't you understand about go fuck yourself?
Yeah, I think that's from a movie. I think that's a movie line.
Is that right? That's a movie line? Yeah. All right. Very good there on Scott's part. All right. And wow. Okay. Andy is saying that we're going to kill ourselves with the Kasha Kanish lobby. And that it's stronger than the NRA, the people that like Kasha. And that we are no longer, like the Panthers are banning people from Toronto from coming into their arena. They don't even want you. I mean, if you have a Canadian driver's license, you're fucked. They won't even let you in there. I mean, how weird is that? You're saying that was to grab headlines? That would be a lousy. I mean, that's Stephen Ross publicity type of stunt. If that was the rationale behind this ban on anybody that's not a U.S. resident buying tickets for the Panther Game 3, which is taking place here, is that Saturday?
Friday.
When is that? Friday.
Panthers play. I think the Panthers play every other day. Well, no, you're right. They played last night.
They still have another game to go in Toronto. I wrote the schedule down here somewhere.
Saturday,
but
they play Sunday the next game. They play Thursday and then Sunday.
Okay. All right, so I mean, if you're not a U.S. resident, you can't buy a ticket through the team's box office or any of their ticket platforms. But naturally, you can buy a ticket right there in the parking lot, I would think. So what are they going to do about that? So what is the point of this? You're not keeping the Toronto crowd out of your building. It is a disgrace if your fans are selling tickets to Maple Leaf fans because they're trying to make up in one game for the cost of their season tickets, which is a noble endeavor.
Yeah, they probably could. I mean, if Maple Leaf fans or the charges are up there, I don't even know. What is it, $1,000, $2,000 for games? Even if you can get 500, that's cheaper for a Toronto fan, and that's a win for a Panther fan or Panther person, I guess.
My good friend, may he rest in peace, Jim McKinley, was a real good operator. This was a guy who was mentioned among the leading black businessmen in South Florida. Not that you necessarily had to make that distinction. He was just a leading businessman, period. And he had a Midas touch, like everything he touched turned to gold. So I always wondered why he was spending, I guess it was corporate dollars, but he was spending like $60,000 a year to have a suite, which accommodated, I think, 8 people at the Miami Heat games. Okay. And, it wasn't like this was anything elaborate, these suites. I mean, they were essentially just better seats.
Yes.
And you had like a lot of overpriced, and not particularly, edible food. I mean, it was edible, but it was not, certainly not worth the kind of money that you were paying when you signed off on the box and you saw the bill was for $3,000. And you guys had a couple of, like rubber hot dogs and maybe, when they have the big sub sandwich, that always sucks. They do that at a lot of Dolphin games, right? I've had a carved piece of some of those giant sub sandwiches. Horrendous. I mean, just absolutely the worst you'll ever eat. It's not like they're going to La Spada's. They would have been better off, right? And you would have gladly paid $100 for a La Spada sub to substitute for that. But anyway, when the playoffs came around, he would sell the tickets to only a couple of the games and actually go to a bunch himself. But if the Heat were in the NBA Finals when they had LeBron, it was I mean, imagine how much money this guy was getting, his entire season's outlay back in one game for renting the suite.
Probably. He probably was getting in two games. I wouldn't doubt that.
That's not always a favorable investment or a wise one if you're a South Florida sports fan, because there's a pretty good chance, A, that your team won't make the playoffs, unless it is the Miami Heat, B, won't go deep into the playoffs, and C, that there won't be enough interest in the tickets.
Yeah, to get
except, maybe 2 out-of-town fans, all right? So, I mean, it seems impossible that you're going to shut these people out, and to even go through the whatever element it takes, to screen these people out of your system. And imagine telling somebody, I mean, that they can't buy tickets. And then the other thing is, who says they're all from Toronto that want to go to this
that's
game?
what I'm saying. Like, I guess the resident part, but whatever. I think it's a stupid thing.
Some guy from Australia just digs hockey, wants to come to a game, spending money to come to South Florida. That's part of the thing about having a pro team here. That's why they get all of these concessions also on arenas and buildings, and all of these lopsided and burial to the public. I mean, what municipality has benefited from building a stadium? Any?
No.
So, part of the thing would be that you're attracting people from out of town and, other areas to come to South Florida to watch your hockey game here, that now we've hit the end of the season. So whatever traffic you can drive through into the state in terms of tourists with bucks to spend would be welcome. And you're telling them, go fuck yourself.
Especially down here, we get visitors from all over the world that would be into events. It's a playoff hockey game. It's an event in the second round. Like, you killing away, like, that's just a stupid ass move. Like, oh well, haha, Toronto fans. What if the Toronto fans are going to find a way? It's not the Toronto fans. The ones you're getting rid of are all the people that have no idea how to get tickets. That who else buys tickets from the team? People who have no idea. Everyone else is going to go on a StubHub, is going to go on some dealer, going to go somewhere, and they're going to find a way to get tickets. It's if you're Venezuelan or you're South American, you're Central American, you're from Europe, and you're in South Florida, and you'd love to watch a game. Now you can't. The Panthers always find a way to screw themselves.
It seems so discriminating that you would think the league itself would intervene and say, is it really worth it for the 2 people from Toronto that you're going to shut out of your game? Possibly, is it really worth it to make the league look like it has this kind of prejudice against people that are not residents of the United States when this is an international game, Lubie? People from Finland, from Sweden, from Russia, from Belarus.
Hockey is a huge deal in Europe, and we get a ton of people from Europe down here. I honestly don't know what they were thinking. I know what they were trying to think. Look, trust it's the playoffs. Trust it's the second round. Trust fans are going to come out. Like, to sit here and be scared that it's going to be a Toronto Maple Leafs.
It's tough shit, though, on your organization if that happens, right? I mean, I remember when I was involved with Marlins telecasts and broadcasts, and or at least working at the network there, where I was privy to what the philosophies were about how to broadcast a game. They actually had a director that I worked with many, many times on broadcasts, and he had instructed the camera crew not to pan the crowd ever. I mean, even if a pop fly went into the stands, just to focus on the pitcher, because they didn't want anybody to realize that there was nobody in the stadium at Marlins games. This was back in the days when they played at what was then, or at one time, Joe Robbie, now Hard Rock Stadium. But I mean, specifically, and they just said, "Hey, what are you doing, man? You can't follow that fly ball. You're showing the fact that there are 2 people here at this ball game, and they're both vendors, right? The guy with the elephant hat, remember that guy? He was great. I think he checked out. He was selling beer. You remember the vendor at Dolphin Stadium there, where he had the big elephant hat on. He was terrific. I always bought beer off that guy, as much as even if it was a ripoff. I just bought a couple of bottles so the kid could make some money. All right, the Heat, though, in a very favorable position still. They get till Saturday afternoon. Jimmy Butler should be back in action. I'm not sure. I mean, do you really think that they would have denied him a chance to play if he wanted to play, Lubie?
Yes.
Can't see
100%.
that happening. No.
100%.
Really? I mean, he was screaming he wanted to play, and they said no? Do we know that for a fact, that was the situation?
No, he's not going to say anything, but they decide an hour before the game? That's not an organization thing. The organization would want to know well in advance. They want to set up their plans. That's the to me, it feels like the dude wanted to play, was doing everything he could to play, was lobbying to play, and Spoelstra's like, Butler, why? We already have the game. I believe in our guys that we were going to be in this game without you, and then you're going to get 3 full days, and you've already gotten 2 full days. You'll have had 5 to 6 full days of rest on an injury that is not that egregious. That's amazing. Let's get you to 100%. Let's get back home. Worst case, it's 1-1. Like, to me, it doesn't scream Butler. Like, why would he be like, the team would understand the situation. So they're not the ones that are going to be pushing him to go in this day and age with what's on the line, with what they had in their favor. To me, that just screams Jimmy Butler can't. Every time they pay into him until the end, when he was smiling and mocking the.
He was jumping off the bench like he was ready to grab a rebound.
He looked fine, and he looked bitter. Yeah. He didn't look like LeBron. LeBron will sit there and laugh and bullshit. He was not doing any of that. He looked like a guy that was like, if I could just be out there, if I could just be out there, if I could just be out there, if I could just be out there. Like, he just looked like a guy that was pissed that he wasn't out there with his team.
All right, let's take a look at how people lost their money on this ball game. Here are some of the proposition bets that you could have made. I mean, where would you stand on this one? This involves a series in general. Would you? What kind of odds would you expect to get? This was prior to the Heat losing last night, so Heat in 4 is no longer a consideration. Would you take 3-1 on Heat in 6?
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I would think.
Heat in 6. You get 550-1 on Heat in 5 if you think the Heat are going to win the rest of the games.
I mean, look, it feels, if Jimmy Butler's healthy, it feels like I don't know what the Knicks have, but I never say 5 because you never know. I mean, the
Heat in 7 is plus 550. Heat in 7.
I'm not making any predictions still because I don't know what the hell's going to. Every game, the Heat, someone else gets injured. And if Foster's doing their games, because it's going to be really tough for them to win a game that he's officiating for them. So I won't make a prediction, but it feels like a Heat in 6 kind of a thing, I guess.
Okay. Knicks in 6 is 550-1. And Knicks in 7 is plus 300. You get 3-1 if you take the Knicks in 7. Yeah. That would be wrapping things up on their home court after what? They trade wins. I mean, doesn't it seem like the kind of series where the Knicks would probably win one of these games in Miami?
That's what you would think. It would be, they split, so it's 4. Then game 5, they go back to New York. So New York wins, and then they go back to Miami for game 6. So Miami wins. So that's how you get. That's how I would see it going 7. I don't really see it going 7 right now. Like this tough series, people were thinking. I mean, the Heat were literally. I don't remember them being that shorthanded. Like even in the finals when Dragic and Bam were hurt. You had Hero. Like the fact that they didn't have a second legit scorer last night, Vince, and you had Martin. You had all the love, all the Rob.
Caleb Martin was swishing everything and about until the midway point of the 4th quarter, and then all of a sudden he started to miss.
And the Knicks got all their guys like RJ Barrett putting up 16 in a quarter, Brunson finishing the way he finished, Randall going 25-12 and 8, almost having a triple double, and the refs were clearly on their side. And it's a 1-point game with 2 minutes left. That's crazy to me. Like even
yeah, that's the way it's been going on this NBA playoff season so far. But where teams that seem to have no chance, like Kawhi's out, and somehow the Clippers are in there against the Suns, who are supposed to win it all, but don't look to be in a very favorable position now. Embiid out for Philadelphia, and I don't know, is he going to remain out against the Celtics?
He's actually hurt. He actually tore a meniscus in his knee, and he's a big dude that's had.
Oh yeah, he's trying to play with a torn meniscus. Get out of here.
I think he's going to play at some point. I just don't think you're not rushing him out. And now again, you got the 1 win. Like when you get the 1 win, it gives you. And I don't like thinking that way. I would have actually loved to test Jimmy Butler.
I like just pressing it and going for that second win.
That's my thing. I would have liked to have at least tried him out there. See if he can give you that Willis Reed shit. He doesn't have to play a whole game, but just see if he can give you a lift. See if you can put him out there in short spurts. The fact they didn't do that at all, to me, says team over Jimmy Butler. If you're the Sixers, same thing. Like, are you really going to...
Must be no Embiid tonight because the Celtics are favored by 10 and a hook.
He's not.
So is that well known? He's out for sure.
That's what I feel like.
And the Suns are 3.5-point favorites over Denver with the series moving at 0-2 in favor of Denver.
2-0.
And it's moving now to Phoenix where the Suns are 0-2. So far, I mean, in the series, and now get their first home game. 3.5. Would you favor the Suns in that one with no Chris Paul?
I can see them winning.
Looks like an opportunity there. No,
one at home. I mean, and I don't think they're gonna go down. I don't think they're gonna get swept. So I feel like they're gonna win at home, and it would be game 3. You would think they're gonna come out and realize, oh shit, we need to win here. I mean, you don't want to get down 3-0. Like 0-3 is horrendous.
All right, a couple of the other things there. Let's see. Did Bam Adebayo have a double-double in this game? No. He only had 8 rebounds. Okay, so you would have lost that. Mitchell Robinson, double-double. I don't know. No, he had only 6 points in the game, which they had a prop bet on Mitchell Robinson over under 6.5.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
That's a weird one. Bam Adebayo, over under was 18 and a hook. You lose there.
He didn't get to the over-unders.
R.J. Barrett was 21 and a hook over under.
24. He was the rest of the game. He was great in the first quarter, and then the game he didn't do anything.
Yeah, I don't remember him doing much. And Brunson was 24 and a hook over under, so he gets 30.
He had a great 40.
So you hit that. I mean, all of those prop bets are all yours. All right, we have to run. Jeff Toobin on our Believe podcast, and he's got a book out about right-wing extremists.
Yes, the growth from
which is perfect for our audience. And it's been going on since I guess obviously before the McVeigh thing, but the germination of this radical, group taking extremist action and thus being labeled extremist. That makes sense. All right, we'll see you guys later on too from Grandpa's Dania Beach. That's on Federal Highway and just a little bit south of 595. Yeah,
in Griffin and Sterling.
Okay, and that should be good. That sandwich that Mayo had yesterday from Tom Tamazzini was amazing, wasn't it?
Ridiculous. The Thanksgiving sandwich.
I couldn't watch him eat it. It was so disgusting. I couldn't watch, but the sandwich itself looked brilliant. I mean, it really did. Leave it to Mayo to complain that it didn't have enough jalapeno peppers on it.
It's like, who puts jalapeno peppers on a turkey?
Guy just gave him like a giant free sandwich that like anybody would like be quelling for years that they took a bite of this thing. All right, I guess that's the nature of a critic, right? That's why critics are thought of very much like lawyers in some circles. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock today. Thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, I'm Jeff DeForest from Michael Lubitz, and we'll see you tomorrow as we leave you know that.
The time.
Trivia challenge tomorrow and a Polyman's handicap on a derby also. That should be fun. It's 9:02.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.